Well, hello Internet. Today I'm going to show you how to make this. It's a super thin crust pizza. I know the outer crust is not thin. I'm talking about the crust underneath of the toppings. And of course, if you don't want a thick crust along the outside like I prefer it, just hit it with a rolling pin. Well, on to the recipe. To make the perfect dough, I'm using a bread man mixer, and I'm going to add 3 cups of unbleached bread flour. King Arthur, I have found, is the best. The order is also very important when I'm putting this in. Why, I don't know. 3. Then I found it best to add 1 cup of soft as silk cake flour. The reason why is it makes the dough much more light. Then I take 1 3/4 cup of warm water, to which I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of bread machine yeast. I'm then going to mix that up until it is completely dissolved in the water. Once it's dissolved, I pour it into the flour. I then add to that 2 tablespoons of non-fat dry milk, and this is what that looks like. And then across the top, I put 1 tablespoon of sugar. I then let this sit for 20 minutes. And then after that is done, I close the bread machine and select the pizza dough option. And then I let that mix for exactly 1 hour. After the flour has blended for 1 hour, dump it out of the pan. Kind of tacky and wet, which is good. You want it to come out tacky and wet. You do not want this to be tight or firm by any means. This is perfect. This is like the perfect consistency. If I would have been thinking, I would have put a little bit of flour on my hands to keep this from sticking to my hands too badly. Get some flour. Rub it on the hands. Of course, you wouldn't have to use a bread machine. I just find it to be a lot faster. And if it's too sticky, of course, just put some more flour in your hands. But see how that just sort of rolls so nice and smooth? This is perfect dough. You want to come in here and knead the ball of dough. How I knead is to press down into it, roll it over. Press into it, roll it over and over and over again. While adding flour in light increments, about that much flour, and then roll it again and again. And you want to continue doing this until the dough is only slightly tacky, but for the most part, pretty nice and smooth, kind of like a baby's butt, as they say. Then, this dough makes 2 pizzas, so I'm going to cut that down the middle. Take those 2 pieces of dough, spread them apart, knead them again. I'll work that yeast through the dough. Then what I do is get about 1/2 tablespoon of olive oil. Take the dough, roll it around in the olive oil, and then I let this sit actually in the oven, off of course. Towel with hot water, of course rinsed out. Put it over top, stick it in the oven, and let it rise for 5 hours. After 2 hours, I take the wet cloth off of it. You see how much bigger this guy's gotten. A lot of people say don't do this, but I've made hundreds of pizzas to try and get to this point, and this works best for me, so this is how I do it. I then take the dough out and re-knead it. I have found that this helps me to get what they call window painting effect, which basically means there's no way this is going to show forth, but by kneading it again, the window pane, by the way, means that you can basically take the dough and pull it and pretty much see through it. So I'm going to knead my dough all nice again. I'm not putting any more olive oil on it. I'm going to throw it back in here. Going to re-wet another cloth with warm, even hot water. Cover this guy, put it back in the oven. Of course the oven's not on again. Now onto the sauce. I have this pan very hot. I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of olive oil. I guess that was more like 1/8 cup. Then I'm going to add, see, very hot, about a tablespoon of garlic. Then I got myself some petite cut, whoops, very dangerous, petite cut no salt added tomatoes. To that I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of fresh basil. I normally would add this after everything was cooked, but For the pizza, it's not going to matter because it's going to get annihilated with the heat. Then put in 2 teaspoons of pepper. Then going to use this potato masher to get those tomatoes all nice and smashed up. And that is a very simple recipe for making tomato sauce. And then I cook this down for about 10 minutes. After your 5 hours are up, this is basically what your dough is going to look like. Real pliable. You can see how thin it'll stretch. It's just really nice dough. You can either use a rolling pin on it if you want, but this stuff's so pliable you really don't need to do that. And I don't really worry about making the thing exactly round. I actually kind of prefer that it's not perfectly round, because then it looks like a homemade pizza and not a frozen pizza shell. Then get a wooden pizza peel. These are infinitely better than a metal one. And then put some flour on that, rub it around. Take your dough. Here you can see the consistency of the tomato sauce. This is intensified. It's almost like tomato paste. Really comes alive. And again, I cooked that for like 10 minutes on high, just constantly stirring it around. This is gonna really go crazy. I then use real mozzarella cheese. Just spread that around on the pizza, like you see it right there. This guy is gonna come in at about 600 calories, so actually it's a pretty healthy pizza in general, but at 600 calories, it's definitely not perfect. Then, I want to make sure it's not sticking to the pizza peel. You don't want to do this whenever you're messing around with a 550-degree oven. There, it's sort of slipping. And then put it in a 550-degree oven on a pizza stone, very hot. And this guy is going to cook in here for 12 minutes. While I'm waiting for that to cook, what I got here, this is going to make it even more fattening. I have 2 tablespoons of butter, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of basil. And I'm going to cook this in the microwave, and I'm going to spread it on the crust whenever the pizza comes out to infuse the crust with that flavor. And after being in the oven for 12 minutes, there's the final pizza. Here's the butter mixture over here. I love this because the crust is super thick, but the crust that lies underneath the toppings is super thin, so you get kind of like the best of the both worlds. And pretty much everybody that's eaten this pizza recipe says it's the best they've ever had, and now you know how to make it too. Till next time.